My fiance and I have our wedding coming up in April. We brainstormed for a while about where best to spend our honeymoon. We went over the more popular and well-known places, but then landed on a more offbeat destination that would truly be a great place for us to start our life as a married couple. I've been looking forward to it just being the two of us. I know he has a really hectic work schedule, and we were going to make the most out of this. A couple of days ago, he told me that his parents had been impressed by how hyped I was about it, and were planning to go there for a vacation too, mainly overlapping with our dates. They're staying at the same hotel as us. I was livid. They can go any other time, so why not now? He said he'd suggested that, but his mom said they'd taken time off for the wedding too, and it worked well into their plans. Also, since we're going to be going back, it'll allow them to maybe see us a few times before we leave. I was almost in tears. I was so angry. He tried to reassure me, saying they'd promised it'd be two separate things and they wouldn't be inserting ourselves in our honeymoon. They wanted us to enjoy it and they'd be doing their own thing. I want to believe it, but I know his mom. I like her as a soon-to-be mother-in-law, but she can be very clingy and routinely laments how far he, and now us, are from them. So I just have a feeling the two plans are not going to be as independent as he thinks they'll be. I vented about it to my parents too. My mom agreed with me that this wasn't right. My dad is more on the fence about it and he doesn't think everything is ruined. I've demanded my fiancé make them change their plans. He says he asked them to and they promised to do their own thing. What can he do? Tell them he doesn't believe them and call them liars? I messed up here and asked if that was what it took, but he got quiet. I realised that was too much. Then he sincerely apologised for crossing the line. This has been eating me up. I was envisioning a certain type of honeymoon, and this happened. Am I the idiot for demanding that my fiancé's parents change their plans? Not the idiot. Your mother-in-law is inserting herself into your honeymoon, and your fiancé is too passive about it. She saw how excited you were and decided to crash what is supposed to be an intimate and once-in-a-lifetime trip. We'll do our own thing is meaningless when she's already ignored a major boundary just to be close to her son. Your fiancé needs to wake up and realise that this isn't just an inconvenience, it's controlling and inappropriate. As much as it sucks, the only way to truly secure an in-law-free honeymoon would be to cancel your plans and go somewhere else. It's not ideal, but there's no way you're not going to accidentally bump into them the whole time they're there. If you think this will change post-wedding, think again. This is your future. When people show you who they are, believe them. You can change your own honeymoon plans, go to a different place, or just not marry a guy who's a pushover to his parents. Agreed, I'd not marry such a mama's boy. No chance I spent the rest of my marriage knowing his mommy is the priority. I'm sure everyone in your life would tell you you're overreacting to draw a line over this one thing and something so small. But why are they insisting on pushing this small thing instead of letting you maintain your very reasonable boundary? Why is your fiancé, husband, willing to placate them over this small thing instead of standing up beside you? And this will be your life. Nobody will say you're overreacting 20 years down the line after a constant deluge of distressing boundary-stomping incidents that have destroyed your joy in life. Why put yourself through 20 years of it before getting divorced? That map was tightly controlled up until this incident. Only now do you see the lay of the land and your future if you marry this man. I've, 27 male, been working with Richard, 31 male, a colleague of mine. He's been trying to set me up with his family friend Sarah, 28 female, and I agreed to date her. On the date, she was fun and we seemed to be pretty compatible. We had a good time and I was looking forward to seeing her again. However, during the second date, Sarah mentioned that she was pregnant. She's only a few months along and I wasn't sure how to handle it. I took a long time to process it and didn't know how to reply. Personally, I didn't know people expecting a child still went on dates, both men and women. I always thought the baby would be their priority for at least 2 years. Maybe I'm out of touch, but not judging them. That said, I just don't want to date someone with a child. Not because of some spicy reason, I just don't want to be a stepfather. If I scold my own kid, they'd be upset, but if I say something to someone else, there's a high chance of hearing, "You're not my father." And then there's the whole situation with the baby's father. Real dad, fake dad drama I don't want to be part of. Honestly, I don't think I could love someone else's child like mine. So I tried to stay calm during the date. I didn't know how to react or what to say to her, but by the end, when she asked when we could meet again, I had to be honest and told her I didn't want to continue the relationship because I didn't see myself taking on the huge responsibility of being a stepfather. Afterward, Richard was furious with me. She told me that Sarah had been cheated on by her husband, and during the divorce she found out she was pregnant. She didn't want to keep the baby because she didn't want to raise it alone, but all her friends, including Richard, persuaded her to keep it, saying that plenty of good guys out there would step up. Richard then told me that I was the first good guy he thought of. He said I was the only one she liked among the guys they set her up with. She was upset about being rejected, though she didn't say anything to him, but she was obviously sad. At that point, I was frustrated. I didn't even know she was pregnant before the date, and now I'm being pushed into this situation. While I felt bad for Sarah, I told Richard it wasn't my responsibility to fix her situation. I'm still figuring things out, and I'm not ready to be with someone pregnant. It's sad, but it's just not something I want to take on. After that, I started noticing my colleagues giving me the cold shoulder. Ben, 28 male, one of them, told me that Richard had been telling people, "I almost caused a pregnant woman to lose her child because of my behaviour." I set the record straight with Ben, and now he's suggesting I take this to HR because of how Richard portrays me. So, am I the idiot for not wanting to date a pregnant woman? First of all, a few months pregnant and dating after a divorce is diabolical. She clearly has no concern for her own mental health, and it will only get worse during the pregnancy as her hormones fluctuate. Also, let's talk about the divorce. I've never heard of a divorce being complete in such a short time, so is she still married and having intimacy with her husband in the process? The questions that can be formulated by this is enough to say you dodged a damn bullet. That woman needs to sit her hot pockets down and heal internally. How the heck are you the bad guy for not wanting to step-parent a child she herself didn't even want to keep? Block them all. That's exactly what I was thinking. Dating isn't a charity program, and agreeing to a date doesn't mean you signed up for stepdad boot camp. You were honest and respectful and didn't lead her on. That's more than a lot of people would do. Richard needs to chill with the hero complex and stop trying to recruit you for a role you never auditioned for. Taking this to HR might not be a bad move if your workplace is turning into a soap opera over your personal boundaries. I'm shocked that he set you, knowing she was pregnant, and didn't tell you. As you said, it isn't your responsibility to fix the situation. Richard convinced her to keep the kid. Why can't he be a good guy and help raise it? His wife probably wouldn't like that, lol. Perhaps Richard is the baby daddy, but public acknowledgement of the child and responsibility for financial support will damage his marriage and reputation. That's the beauty of Richard's deceit. He's the father. OP, you're not obligated to see her again. Your colleagues are behaving really weirdly as if you owe this woman anything. If she reacted so poorly that where she almost lost her child from being rejected, she shouldn't be dating at all while pregnant. That is not on you. No, you are not obligated to date her. They are the idiot for pushing it. My son moved out right after graduating college last year. Since then, he's been very preoccupied with his own life. My wife and I couldn't be prouder of him, but we wish he made a little more effort to keep in touch, especially since he only lives 30 minutes away. Months would go by without hearing from him, and we would always reach out first. We never complained about it to him until my wife's birthday. Her birthday was 2 days ago, and we didn't get a call or a surprise visit. She was a little upset, but chose not to confront him. I decided to call him about it, not out of anger, just as a reminder. I said, "Hey buddy, you missed your mom's birthday." He immediately apologized and asked me to wish her a happy birthday on his behalf. I told him it would be nice if he could visit us soon because we miss him. Apparently that set him off. He told me that he has his own life to live and that we have ours. I told him I understood, but we're still his parents and want to stay close. That's when he bluntly said he doesn't want a close relationship with us and that he's frustrated we won't leave him alone. I asked him why, and out of nowhere, he brought up something from when he was 10 years old. He said he overheard my wife and me saying that we love each other more than we love him. I was confused because I don't recall ever saying that. When I asked for more context, he said we'd been talking about our own parents' marriages, and at some point I said something along the lines of, "Even though I love him a lot, I love his mother the most." My wife apparently agreed with me, and that conversation has tainted his view of our relationship ever since. I told him there was nothing wrong with what I said and that he was acting like a self-centered brat who thinks the world revolves around him. He told me to kick rocks. So when I told my wife about what happened, she said I was wrong for calling him that, even though I believe it was true. You are the idiot. First of all, he is as you raised him. Secondly, kids don't just suddenly decide to let go of relationships with their parents because they heard something like that. In a home with engaged, available parents, kids flip out and tell their parents they overheard something upsetting, or they demand to know why they would say such a thing. They don't just keep it a secret for 20 years. It wasn't just the one thing. Other stuff happened that you're not aware of or are actively ignoring. Classic missing reasons. The odds are low that this is all about one conversation when he was 10. Maybe it framed a lot of future events and he couldn't get over it, but kids in happy, healthy families rarely decide to just bail because of a single event. Narcissistic parents always ignore the real complaints and focus on one silly thing that makes the kid look unreasonable. It looks exactly like this. OP, your son tells you something that's bothered him since he was 10, and in response, you, while not even remembering the conversation yourself, tell him to get over it, confirming what he's feared since he was a tween, that given the choice, you drop him. Why double down on this if you wanted to keep your son close? All you had to say was that a parent's love is different, and you love your son equally but in a different way. Instead, you permanently damaged your relationship with your son. Hope you're happy. My 37 male wife's 38 friend, 37 female, is getting married in July. She was my wife's maid of honor at our own wedding 6 years ago. They've been friends for 15 plus years. Recently, we haven't seen her as much given we have young kids and our social life has significantly narrowed, though she and my wife have a lunch out together every couple of months. The friend has been a little unlucky in love over the years, but about 6 months ago she found a guy and he popped the question about a month ago. My wife and I have met him once. The friend called my wife the day after she accepted, very excited. My wife was very excited about the wedding, both for her friend's sake and because we didn't have many opportunities to get glammed up and go out. Anyway, my wife had lunch with her last weekend and found out that I was not invited, just my wife. When the friend was maid of honor at our wedding, she didn't even have a +1 to invite, but we would have. When we planned our own, wives and husbands were just invited as a matter of course. This has really hurt my wife. I understand they're trying to contain numbers, but I know the venue can take 3 times what they're planning. There's also no blanket, no +1 rule, just not everyone's partner can come. I don't know the criteria. There's no other reason to account for the non-invite, interpersonal dramas and the like. It's perplexing. My wife is now sad she'll be riding solo, as other than the bride she won't really know anyone. She will still put on a happy face to support her friend though, and doesn't want to cause any trouble. As a matter of etiquette and respect, you would invite the husband of the woman you were maid of honor for, a genuine friend who's been there for her so many times over the years, including some distinct events within the last year or so. Anyway, we'd planned a double date with them in the next few weeks, but now I don't want to go. We'd assumed it was to show off her new fiance to us both and was planned before the recent revelation. It's not that we're being precious about it, it just seems like such a lapse in etiquette indicates how she sees her and me. However, we don't want to make a mountain out of a molehill and don't want to cast a pall on her wedding and the friendship generally. I know how annoying it can be to balance the competing priorities of a wedding too. Am I the idiot if I skipped out on the double date? Not the idiot, and I wouldn't skip out on the dinner. I would tell her that she's invited to the dinner, but her fiancé is not. When she asks why, I'd tell her. But I'm petty, and I also wouldn't be attending her wedding. I'm surprised your wife isn't pushing the issue of your non-invitation. The bride was single when you got married. She's being petty all on her own. Your wife sounds like a people pleaser. Agreed. In your shoes, I would go to dinner and ask directly why I was not invited. The friend resents your wife for being happier in her love life, so she wants her to be single at the wedding. That's stupid and selfish. You give a +1 to your maid of honor except if her relationship is quite new or if you have some issues with her partner. In your wife's shoes, I wouldn't entertain this stupid revenge. LOL, engaged within 6 months. Don't worry, maybe she'll invite you to the next wedding. Breezing by the ridiculousness of a 5-month relationship ending in marriage, you're within your rights to avoid this. My focus would be on how your wife feels about that and whether you'd appear for her sake. Please, there's not going to be a next wedding. This woman isn't unlucky in love, she lacks the essential societal clues of kindness and respect, and all her other partners realize this and leave. She finally found a sucker. She's not likely to find another. They should just cancel the double date, and the 2 women should just go out to lunch themselves. OP's wife should attend the wedding solo and bow out of the reception when bored. My daughter, nearly adult female, recently started dating this boy, nearly adult male. He is her first boyfriend ever. One of my biggest concerns when my daughter started dating was her getting mistreated, an obvious concern. However, after meeting her boyfriend at one of his baseball games, she met him through one of her friends in baseball, I realised this was not something I had to be seriously concerned about. He is genuinely one of the sweetest people I've ever met. Whenever I see him interact with the coaches, his teammates, opponents, my daughter, etc., it's always positive. He's generally very soft-spoken and kind, always positive and happy. I also say this with no ill intent, but he is fairly short and somewhat tubby, which is relevant to my husband's opinion. I obviously don't care about this, as he's a good person and quite clearly treats my daughter well. When my husband met him earlier, however, he didn't seem as happy. Once he left, he told me he didn't think he was right for our daughter. He made comments about him not being man enough. I said that our daughter loves him, and he loves our daughter, and that I'm happy she's with someone we know who will treat her right. My husband said that he would rather her be with a real man, not some short little gay kid. I got a little mad at this and said, what would you rather have him be then? Some big macho man that snaps at our daughter? He responded by saying that that would be better than some fat pansy. I told him that he was just being an annoying idiot to the kid for no other reason than he doesn't think he's man enough for some stupid, arbitrary reason, and that he should be supporting our daughter. He said, if you're fine with our daughter dating a damn pansy, so be it, I guess. He stormed off, and I've been reflecting on it and think maybe what I said was uncalled for, as he has his own perspective on these things as a dad, and I shouldn't have started throwing around insults, as that does nothing to fix this issue for our daughter and her boyfriend. Not the idiot. So he would rather your daughter be married to a brute tough guy who treats her like crap than a shorter chubby kid who treats her well? So appearance is actually more important than character to your husband. Tell your husband you did some research and found out there is zero obligation for him to have intimacy with your daughter's boyfriend. Not only does OP's husband value appearance over character, but he also values appearance above his own daughter's well-being. That's just sick. He'd rather his daughter date some 6-foot macho man who hurts her rather than a chubby short kid she loves and who loves her back. I wonder, when he watches Beauty and the Beast, does he root for Gaston? If my husband said something like this, it'd kill any attraction I have towards him. I don't know how she can stay with someone who values toxic masculinity over the safety and happiness of his own child. Such a turn-off. People like OP's husband are so emotional and have low IQ. It's a wonder they managed to get married in the first place. I assume it's a road lined with a lot of overlooked red flags. This is not only about appearance. OP's husband doesn't like the boyfriend because being nice to everyone is not masculine enough. Not the idiot. Your husband is 100% in the wrong and also showing he's a phobic, misogynistic brute. Maybe he doesn't like the kid because he doesn't want you to see a guy treating a woman with respect and like an equal. Good luck, OP, but I think the problem may be bigger than what you're addressing here.